defray the expenses. We raised that to $2,200 a child. But more importantly, had we not acted, we not only acted...
Millions of American moms and dads go to work every day, obey the law, try to do right by their kids, and still can't sleep at night. Because the cost of living is crushing them. Welcome to American Hearings. Senator Kennedy just took the Senate floor to say what a lot of people in Washington won't say out loud. The middle class is scared, they're worried, and that worry has turned into real anger. Here's the full breakdown.
The Senator from Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, as you well know, because I'm about to describe the good people of West Virginia as well as the good people of Louisiana and many other states. Most Americans get up every day, they go to work, they obey the law, they try to teach their children values, they try to do the right thing by their children, and they try to put aside a little money for retirement. I just described millions of moms and dads across your state and mine, all across America. But unfortunately, many moms and dads, when they lie down to sleep at night, can't. And they can't because they're worried. They can't because they're scared. Worry and fear are inextricably linked. And one of the main things they are worried about today in America is the cost of living. And worry and fear also can lead to anger. There is a lot of anger in America today among our middle-class citizens. And that anger is shared not only by the folks in your state and my state and other states, it's shared all across political party lines and all across demographics. Many of my Democratic friends and neighbors are angry, just as they are scared and worried. Many independent moms and dads are. Many Republican moms and dads are worried. And they're angry. Why are they angry? Well, first, let me say I understand their anger. It's perfectly predictable. Here's why they're angry. And here's why they're scared. These moms and dads who can't sleep at night because they're concerned about the cost of living look around and they see too many undeserving people. I want to emphasize undeserving because I don't want to paint with too broad a brush. These parents, these moms and dads look around and see too many undeserving people at the top getting bailouts. And they see too many undeserving, not everybody, but too many undeserving people at the bottom getting handouts. And they're in the middle and they're getting stuck with the bill. And they can't pay it anymore because of the cost of living. Now, this started back during COVID when we experienced our first inflation, rise in the cost of living in America. And you don't have to be a senior at Caltech to figure out what happened. The federal government, at the suggestion of President Biden, spent bucket loads of money that we didn't have, particularly and especially after the pandemic was over. They just spent billions and billions of dollars. There was money sloshing around the financial system in America like it was confetti. And these stimulus bills were passed at the suggestion of President Biden at a time when many of our supply chains had kinks in them. Now, what happens, and all this extra money that President Biden spent that we didn't have, increased demand at a time when supply was constant or going down. Well, what's the result of that? Inflation. That's how you get inflation. At one point, we had 9% inflation in America. 9%. And inflation is pernicious. It just guts the middle class like a fish. Those at the top aren't particularly bothered by inflation. And I don't want to overstate this, but many people at the bottom who depend on public assistance to live are not as worried about inflation because a lot of their public assistance is adjusted for inflation. But the folks in the middle, the ones who get up every day and go to work and obey the law and pay their taxes and try to do the right thing by their kids, yeah, they got some wage increases, but not as fast as inflation. Now, we have gotten that 9% inflation down. Before the conflict in Iran, we'd gotten it down to 2.5%, 2.8%. We were trying to get it down more, but inflation is very sticky. It's like a stray dog. Once you feed it, you can't get rid of it. Our goal was to get it down to 2%. The Federal Reserve was doing its part. I'd like to think most members of Congress were doing their part, but we were having really trouble getting it down. And then, of course, we had a spike in the cost of energy. Now, energy was already up. Under President Biden, the average electricity bill of the average American went up 28%, almost a third. So that started the fear and the anger among middle-class Americans. But the conflict in Iran predictably raised the cost of energy, in particular the cost of gas and diesel fuel. I think most Americans understand. They don't like it. I don't like it. It's painful as hell. They understand that every time you have a conflict in the Middle East, the price of energy is going to go up. And once the conflict is over, it'll gradually come down. Usually it doesn't come down as fast as it went up. But it's still painful. And this fear, this anger at the cost of living predates the conflict in Iran. I don't want to blame it on the conflict in Iran. It was there before. Because we had inflation there before the conflict. And I know it's not, I'm not going to say it's just energy prices. It's not just energy prices. We were seeing it in food prices, for example. You shouldn't have to sell blood plasma to go to the grocery store. But a lot of middle-class Americans felt that they just about had to. Now, I talked to the president about it. He understands it. It frustrates him because he didn't cause that 9% inflation. No disrespect, but President Biden did. He did. He spent money that we didn't have like it was ditch water. I think if we had discovered life on Mars when President Biden was president, he would have sent it money immediately. That's how much money we were spending, which caused all this inflation. But it frustrates President Trump because these are my words, not his, but I've heard him say, in effect, why are people mad at me? I didn't cause this inflation. Yeah, I did what I had to do in Iran, and it's gone. Gas prices and diesel prices have gone up, and fertilizer prices. But the American people aren't stupid. They don't read Aristotle every day because they're too busy earning a living, but they understand the energy prices will gradually come down after the conflict is over. But the president says, why am I getting blamed? And I've told the president gently, Mr. President, I understand your frustration. You didn't father this child. You're not the daddy, but you got to raise it. You got to raise it because you're the president. And I don't want the American people to think we've been doing nothing. We've done a lot already, as you know, Mr. President. We passed the One Big Beautiful Bill. Now, I could stand here, and most of the provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill, which are going to help with the cost of living, are just now taking effect. People are already seeing tax refunds, bigger than they've ever seen, and that's going to help. And it is a breathtaking piece of legislation. I don't think I've never voted for a bill that was more impactful and that covered more subjects. And I've talked before about no tax on tips and the fact that we prevented a $4.3 trillion tax increase. I'm not going to go into that, but I do want to highlight one of the things that we did, one among, frankly, thousands in the One Big Beautiful Bill, to try to help people in the middle class who are scared and who are angry. I'll give you an example, and you know this, Mr. President. We have a program called the Child and Dependent Care Tax Credit. Now, we've made it complicated as hell, as we do, as the federal government want to do. But this is what the Child and Dependent Care Tax Credit basically does. Basically, the federal, if you're a mom and dad and you're working and you have to pay for child care, which is outrageously expensive. I'm not blaming the child care providers, but it's just really expensive. Under the Child and Dependent Care Tax Credit, we'll pay a portion of your child care expenses. And this program's been around since 2001. In the One Big Beautiful Bill, we amped it up. We don't talk about it much, but we did. For about 4 million working families, they're going to get more money to pay for child care. For many families, that's going to mean an extra $900 a family to pay for their child care. I'm very proud of that. We heard the American people, and we did something about it. We also have another program, way too complicated, called the Employer Provided Child Care Credit, 45F. Let me tell you what it does in simple terms. It basically says if you're a businesswoman or a businessman and you want to help your employees and you want to attract new employees because you need them, we will give that company a tax credit to pay for a portion of the child care expenses of those employees. So that's the second way that we have at the federal level to try to help people pay for their child care. We, under the One Big Beautiful Bill, we expanded that dramatically. That program's also been around since 2001. And to make a long story short, which sometimes is difficult, is difficult for me to do. Basically, in the One Big Beautiful Bill, we have given employers all across America more money so they can, in turn, help their employees by giving them more money to pay for child care. We don't talk about it enough. But parents with kids will start feeling that immediately. We also have a third program at the federal level that we beefed up in the One Big Beautiful Bill. It's called the Child Tax Credit. It's really the simplest of the three. Basically, if you have a child in America, we will give you a certain amount of money to defray the cost of raising that child. Now, look, children are worth it. Okay, I don't mean to talk in just purely financial terms. I love my son more than life itself. I remember when I was young, my dad used to tell me, son, you will never know love until you have a child. He would tell me, he said, son, it's not like the love for a spouse or the love for a dad or a mom or a sibling. I just can't describe it, Dad would say. And I'd say, oh, Dad, okay, you know. Well, he was right, and you can't know that till you have a child. So I don't mean to talk about children just in financial terms, but it's expensive to raise children. We increased in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Right now, we give parents $2,000 per child to defray the expenses. We raised that to $2,200 a child. But more importantly, had we not acted, we not only acted, but we increased the child tax credit. But had we not acted, it was going to go back to $1,000 a child. So I think it would be fair to say that we increased the child tax credit from $1,000 to $2,200. I don't want to get too partisan, but I was very disappointed that my Democratic colleagues, not a single solitary one, voted for this. We also increased the adoption tax credit. We basically decided to give more money to people who want to adopt children. And I could go on, but I won't. I could talk about the Dependent Care Assistance Plan. I could talk about the paid family and medical leave credit. But the point is, Mr. President, this is one of the reasons we passed One Big Beautiful Bill. And I don't want anybody to think that we in Congress, at least our side of the aisle, the Republican side of the aisle, is not aware of and is not trying to help with the cost of living. And this is just one small part of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Let me tell you what else we're doing. We're doing a lot of stuff, but I'll just mention one in particular, housing. You know, it wasn't that many years ago, I think maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the average age of a first-time homeowner in America was 29. Most people who wanted to buy a home bought their first home when they were 29. Today it's 39. Damn near middle age. Because the cost of housing has gone up. Now that's great if you already have a home and you bought it early enough. God bless you. I'm happy for you. You know, you've built up equity and your home's worth more. But it's terrible for our young people who want to buy a home and they just can't. It's not just the down payment. It's not just the mortgage rates. It's the price of the home. Now, the federal government, the United States Congress, is not in charge of housing. That's not part of our job description. That's an issue for local government. State government, yes, but especially local government. Why? Because the supply of housing is determined in large part by municipalities, by cities and counties. And if you increase the supply of housing, the cost is going to go down. And one of the reasons homes have become so expensive is because we don't have enough houses for people to buy. The other reason is that people who have bought and locked in cheap interest rates don't want to sell. But I digress. The main reason is we don't have enough housing. If we had more housing, the price would go down, and you wouldn't have to wait till you're 39 years old, for God's sakes, to be able to buy a home. But we at the federal level can't tell our colleagues in local government, or we shouldn't try to tell them, how to increase the supply of houses. That's their job. Now, one way to increase the supply of housing is to change your zoning laws. A lot of our local governments, a lot of them, make it terribly, terribly, terribly difficult to build. They do. It's not just the fees and the permits and the regulations, it's the zoning laws. You know, now, we all need zoning laws. I'm not saying we don't. But there's there's no appetite by many folks on the city council and many mayors to increase housing starts by relaxing the zoning laws. And I don't want to be the one to tell them how to do their business. That's their business. The zoning laws, I don't want to have the federal government get in the middle of zoning laws. That's up to local government, because they're closest to the people. But we have a bill. It's passed the Senate twice. It's in front of the House of Representatives right now. There are one or two members of Congress over there that are holding it up, and I hope they'll let it go. But we passed it twice. And in fact, this bill, it's called the Bill Now Act. It's a bill sponsored by myself and Senator Warren from Massachusetts. I've had it put on the crypto bill that we're going to mark up tomorrow. We passed it twice, and it's in front of the House now, but in case something goes wrong over there, I'm going to send it to them again through the crypto bill. What does it do? It doesn't tell local government how to do their job. It just tells them, we'll give you extra money if you'll do your job. Every year the federal government sends about, $3 billion in cash to our local governments. We call it Community Development Block Grant money. But it's free money. We give it to the cities. We give it to the counties. Very few strings attached. The local governments love it. They love community development block grant money like the devil loves sin. I mean, it's just free money. They can pretty much spend it on what they want. And we give it to them every year, $3 billion, just like clockwork. What Senator Warren's bill Senator Warren's and my bill would do is, it says to our friends in local government, we're not telling you how to do it, but if you will increase housing starts, if you will allow the private sector to build more houses, how you do it, it's up to you. You change zoning laws, whatever you do, we're not going to tell you how to do your business. But if you will encourage more housing built by the private sector and increase housing starts, we'll give you extra money from that pool of $3 billion from community development block grants. That's the good news. The bad news for local government is, because you're saying, well, heck, we're already giving them $3 billion, Kennedy. You know, did you just parachute in from Pluto? We got a huge deficit. You want to add more? No. Senator Warren's bill and my bill wouldn't cost anything. Because, yes, we will reward with extra money those counties and cities who increase housing starts. Where we're going to get the money? We're going to take it from the cities and the counties who don't increase housing starts. So the net effect's going to be a wash. Now, we're not telling local government how to do their job. They don't have to do a dead-gum thing if they don't want to. But if local government will work with us to increase housing starts, it'll be good for them and good for us. They don't want to work with us, they don't have to. But those that do work with us will get extra money, those that don't will get less. I know this will work. I've seen it with my very own eyes. You have too, Mr. President. Just look at Austin, Texas. About a year or so ago in Austin, it was the hottest housing market in the country. And prices were going through the roof. Why? Because Austin had all these people that were moving in, wanted to live in Austin. You know, I always have loved their expression in their slogan in Austin. It's keep Austin weird. Austin's a great place. University of Texas is there. It's just a great place. But and now it's a hub for technology, and people were moving into Austin from all over the country, and the supply of houses was remaining the same, and the cost of housing was going through the roof, and nobody could afford a house, and nobody could afford an apartment. Well, Austin said, you know, this is very uncool. They changed their zoning laws. They said, we're going to relax our regulation to try to increase more houses and more apartments. And you know what they did? They did. And the price of homes, but just as important, the price of rent has gone down dramatically. You increase supply and price will go down every single time. And you know that. I know you know that, Mr. President. You've been very successful in business. And most people who weren't playing Frisbee in the quad during Econ 101 know it too. So that's what our bill will do. So I just wanted to come to the floor and say to the American people, look, I get it. We get it. You know, and I wish there was a magic wand and we could just fix it, but we're trying. And it starts with the one big, beautiful bill. We need to do more. We've passed a housing bill that'll help if we can get our friends over in the House of Representatives to just take it up and pass it. There's talk of a third reconciliation bill. I'm all for it. That there are things we could do in a reconciliation bill if we could get it past the parliamentarian. One idea I have, insurance is killing people. It's just killing folks. And it's not just homeowners insurance, it's flood insurance, it's car insurance, it's all kinds of insurance. Now, what I'm about to say is going to give all of our insurance commissioners, they're going to all have a grand mal seizure when I say this. But what I think we ought to do, right now, if I want to buy insurance, I have to buy it in my state. I can't say, man, the quote I got on my homeowners is too high. I want to see what kind of deal I can get in West Virginia or Alabama. You can't do that. You can't buy insurance across state lines. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Craziest thing I've ever seen. I want to introduce a bill. I may try to put it on our reconciliation package that says, henceforth, you can buy insurance across state lines. I'm sorry if the insurance commissioners are upset, but, you know, enough is enough. We've got, you know this, Mr. President, you've got dozens of ideas. I've got them. We've all got them. We're working on it. And I just wanted to come to the floor tonight and point that out to the American people that we get it. We get it. And I'm sorry for that worry and that fear among a lot of middle-class Americans. I'm sorry for that anger. But we're working on it, and we're trying. And we're taking some steps to try to make your life better. That's it, Mr. President. My work here is done for the evening. I don't know what I'm supposed to say next, except Said what, ma'am? Let's go home, is that what you're saying?
Did a good job.
Okay, well, we're done, I'm done. I can show myself out. I'm whatever the magic words the parliamentarian is telling me to say, I want to say it, and we'll be recessed until we're supposed to come back. How's that?
Previous order, the Senate stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Welcome back to American Hearings. This floor address is longer than a typical Kennedy hearing exchange, but it earns the time because it's structured as a complete argument, not just a collection of talking points. He opens with a portrait. Not a policy brief, a portrait. Moms and dads. Working. Paying taxes. Trying to save. Lying awake at night. That framing is deliberate and effective. Before a single bill or statistic is mentioned, he's already established who he's speaking for. The anger diagnosis comes next, and Kennedy does something rarer than it sounds. He refuses to make it partisan. Democrats are angry. Independents are angry. Republicans are angry. The fear runs across every demographic. That framing broadens the audience before he ever touches policy. The structural argument is clean. Too many undeserving people at the top getting bailouts, too many undeserving people at the bottom getting handouts, and the middle is holding the bill. Whether you agree with every detail or not, that message lands. The inflation explanation is accessible without being condescending. Extra money flooding a constrained supply system equals price increases. 9% inflation. A 28% rise in average electricity bills. Food prices pushing families toward decisions no one should have to make. He calls inflation what it is, a force that guts the middle hardest. Then comes one of the most quotable lines of the address. The president didn't cause this inflation, but he's got to raise the child anyway. That metaphor is memorable, humanizing, and politically precise all at once. Kennedy closes with a concrete toolkit. Childcare tax credits expanded for 4 million families, employer childcare incentives, a housing starts bill co-sponsored with Senator Warren, and a push to allow insurance purchases across state lines. The Austin, Texas example seals the housing argument. Relaxed zoning, increased supply, prices and rents came down. Real results, already visible. This is Senate floor communication at its most effective. Personal, structured, specific, and aimed squarely at the people watching from home. Subscribe to American Hearings and drop your thoughts below.